For 20 years I held the script of an angst-ridden male lead, but then, I suddenly realized that the world I was living in was actually a cliché, tear-jerking tragedy novel. In this world, the male lead's fate is never bright. He either gets kicked out of the house by his biological parents, or he gets stripped of his entire fortune by the female lead and her white moonlight childhood sweetheart, ultimately dying a miserable, lonely death. As for me, finding myself in the shoes of an angst-ridden male lead, I naturally couldn't stomach such pathetic grievances. If wiping out an entire family can solve the problem, then it's not really a big deal, is it? It was getting dark. Looking at my watch, the comrades at the civil registry office were about to clock out, yet my fiancée Olivia was still nowhere to be seen. My patience was wearing thin. My assistant stood next to me, panic evident in his voice. "Sir, we've tracked down Miss Olivia's whereabouts. She is currently in Antarctica watching the snow with Silas." I took a deep drag of my cigarette, flicked the now useless butt away, and let out a gentle sigh. If that's the case, then the Oliver family has no reason to exist anymore. I picked up my phone and called Olivia directly. "So? Going on a romantic trip to Antarctica with your little secretary is more important than registering our marriage." Hearing the word romantic, Olivia's tone instantly turned freezing cold. "Don't judge others by your own petty standards. Silas and I are completely innocent. There's nothing shady going on. It's not safe for him to go to Antarctica alone. I'm his boss. What's wrong with me accompanying him?" I couldn't hold back. The corners of my mouth twitched, and I burst out laughing. "You make a fair point. A fully grown man definitely needs a fragile little girl like you to protect him. And right on the day we're supposed to get our marriage license, no less." Olivia noticed the shift in my tone and grew even more dissatisfied. "You don't even care if I'm cold or not. And now you're interrogating me?" I didn't give her a chance to retort. Click. I hung up the phone. Her father had begged every god in the heavens just to cling to my Blake family. What a pity. My family is the wealthiest in Harbor City. The Oliver family, on the other hand, had failed to seize any opportunities in recent years. Adding the fact that their younger generation was filled with ignorant, greedy fools, their power had severely declined. If it weren't for the fact that the old masters of our two families had arranged this engagement, and that Olivia was stunningly beautiful, perfectly fitting my aesthetic, and that my grandfather adored her, the Oliver family wouldn't even have the right to breathe the same air as me, let alone marry into my family. But since Olivia didn't know what was good for her, the Oliver family could go ahead and evaporate. I signaled my driver to head back to the Blake estate. On the way, I instructed my secretary to cut off all business ties with the Oliver family. I also spent a long time trying to chat with my system, but it just threw a clairvoyance eye skill at me and went dead silent. It clearly felt it had chosen the wrong host. This boss right here had a destiny that defied the heavens. I was practically a living god. I couldn't be bothered to care about it. Arriving at my mansion, I grabbed a cold Coke from the fridge. Less than 2 minutes later, the front doors were pushed open. What caught my eye wasn't a person, but a floating text prompt. Stella, Silas's younger sister. She is pursuing a man she believes to be a broke, ordinary doctor. She despises him for his poverty but can't bear to let go of his handsome face and orphan background. She's stringing him along while searching for a suitable sugar daddy. End result. Under Stella's deception, he loses both his money and his feelings, ending up utterly alone, with only his trillion-dollar fortune to keep him company. I took a sip of Coke and almost did a spit take. Good Lord, the male lead of another angst novel was right next to me. Peter was my best friend of many years. His family background was ordinary, but his medical skills were miraculously good. Because of this, after becoming my family's private physician, everything Peter wore was top-tier custom-tailored clothing, though outsiders rarely recognized their true value. Seeing my weird stare, Peter jumped, his heart skipping a beat. "Stop smiling. Don't smile at me like that. The last time you smiled like that, a massive corporate family went bankrupt 3 days later." I quietly shook my head and tossed him a cigarette. "All right, my bad. Here, a peace offering." Peter reluctantly took the cigarette. Before he could ask anything, I whipped out my phone and made a 5-minute call. "I want all the information on Stella, right now." My assistant replied instantly. "Yes, sir. I'll have someone look into it immediately." Hearing Stella's name, Peter's face shifted slightly. He knew exactly how terrifying my power was. Just the Blake Corporation I inherited was worth over $1 trillion. No one knew exactly how much wealth I possessed. Not even my parents knew the exact numbers. Peter sat across from me, staring nervously. I lit my cigarette and sighed. "Peter, I really didn't expect you to be this kind of guy." Peter looked bewildered. "What do you mean?" I blew a smoke ring, my lips curling into a meaningful smirk. "I treat you like a brother, and yet you go out there and act like a lapdog for a woman? A certified grade A simp? You're 6'2", elegant, and handsome. Put you anywhere, and you look like a proper main character. Why are you insisting on playing the role of a pathetic simp?" Connecting the dots, how could Peter not understand what I meant? He rubbed his temples, returning to his calm demeanor. "Don't misunderstand. Stella and I have true love. She's just testing me." I flicked my cigarette ash, completely unimpressed. "Testing you? What kind of garbage excuse is that? I'm more curious about how you two even met." A nostalgic glow washed over Peter's face, a happy smile forming. A few months ago, my pet cat went missing. When I found it, its fur was clean and soft. Clearly, someone had been taking good care of it. At that moment, I saw Stella feeding it. In that instant, she looked so beautiful, so pure. I almost gagged. I quickly cut him off. Hold up. She fed a cat and you fell in love? Peter shrugged helplessly. Does love need a reason? You just like who you like. Looking at his lovesick expression, I realized I had truly never seen anything like it. It's true what they say, a doctor can't cure himself. When you're infected with the simp virus, there's no medicine that can save you. Right on cue, I received Stella's detailed file on my phone. Skimming through it, I thought to myself, kids these days play wild. Besides photos of her doing transactions with sugar daddies, my smile grew even weirder when I read some of the notes at the bottom. I handed the phone to Peter. Stella has a history of abusing stray cats. Are you absolutely sure she was feeding the cat and not trying to assassinate it? Peter looked at the report, his pupils shrinking. She's not that kind of person. There must be a misunderstanding. I patted his shoulder gently. All right, fine. Let me take you somewhere and you'll understand. Better a short pain than a long one. I decided to let my bro experience the cruelest reality of this world. I was going to crown him with a neon green cuckold hat, so bright and freezing it would chill him to his core in the middle of this hot summer. On the way, Peter was a bundle of nerves. After hesitating, he finally called Stella. The phone rang forever before she finally texted back. Peter, babe, I'm at home cooking. I'll call you back when I'm done. I could practically see the green glow radiating from my best friend's head. Half an hour later, the two of us arrived at the Floral Joy Hotel. Peter's face was as black as coal. He knew this hotel was a famous spot for couples. We reached the second floor, but I pointed upwards. Peter's eyes widened in disbelief. What? She's on the third floor? The second floor was for normal couples. The third floor? That was VIP territory for people with unusual hobbies. The amount of toys and wild activities up there was innumerable. Peter had thought that no matter what, Stella wouldn't stoop to going to the third floor with someone else. I didn't even know how to comfort the poor guy. As soon as we stepped onto the third floor, an agile staff member rushed over and respectfully handed me a keycard. Mr. Blake, here is the key for room 303. I took the card, flipping it casually in my hand. I owned the entire Floral Joy Hotel. Otherwise, how could we get up to the restricted third floor so easily? Peter was burning with anxiety, ready to kick the door down, but I called over two cleaning ladies who were working nearby. Hey, old friend, do you happen to have any female acquaintances working here? Peter's mind was a mess. He didn't even catch my drift. No? Why? I patted the two girls on the shoulder and whispered something in their ears. Well then, these two smart, hard-working girls from poor backgrounds were personally hired by you, making an exception to the rules. I didn't explain further. I swiped the card, pushed the door open, and was about to storm in when we heard the sound of two people talking, accompanied by a rhythmic smack, smack, smack and the muffled cries of a woman. Peter kicked the door wide open, but when he saw the scene inside, he froze like a statue. Stella, the girl he thought was weak and pure, was currently exuding a charm that just screamed, "Step on me." Beside her was a chubby middle-aged man. As for their outfits, let's just say there wasn't much to talk about. Seeing Peter bust the door down, Stella panicked and tried to cover up. Peter, why? Why are you here? But she was tied up and couldn't move an inch. Peter glared at the fat man with pure rage, raising his fists to charge. But I was faster. In 2 steps, I bypassed him and delivered a flawless roundhouse kick straight to the fat guy's face. It was a beautiful, clean strike that sent the dude flying into the glass bedside table, where he rolled on the floor in agony. I casually leaned against the wall. All right, your turn. Peter was a genius in the operating room, but a complete noob in a fistfight. It was better I handled the heavy lifting first. Consumed by anger, Peter rushed over and started raining punches on the fat guy's head. Seeing this brutal scene, Stella trembled in fear. Stop hitting him. Stop, you're going to kill him. If she hadn't spoken, I would have almost forgotten she was there. Hearing my chuckle, Stella turned pale. She frantically tried to explain. Don't hit me. Please don't. This has nothing to do with me. He forced me. I waved my hand dismissively. Don't be silly, I don't hit women. Hearing this, Stella's fear subsided a bit. But the moment my words dropped, the two cleaning ladies, who were now dressed as waitresses, barged in. Seeing Stella, they didn't say a word. They marched right up, grabbed her by the hair, and delivered a mighty, echoing slap across her face. Mr. Peter is such a good man, and you have the heart to betray him. If Mr. Peter hadn't taken pity on our miserable backgrounds, we wouldn't even have this job. Today, even if we get fired, we are getting justice for Mr. Peter. I marveled inwardly. Women are absolutely ruthless when they fight. They were throwing hands like they were trying to send her to the shadow realm. Honestly, the smack smack sounds were incredibly satisfying. Hers was a highly slappable face. In just a few moments, Stella's cheeks were swollen and red, but the two girls had no intention of stopping. They kicked her in the chest, knocked over a wooden rack, pinned her to the floor, and pummeled her. I glanced at my watch, feeling a tiny bit of fake pity. All right, that's enough. I know you girls are grateful to Peter, but don't hit her too hard. Just beat her for about half an hour. That should do. Stella, whose mind was already fuzzy from the beating, almost fainted from sheer terror upon hearing this. She was already covered in handprints and bruises. If they really beat her for half an hour, she'd be clinging to half a life, if not dead. I waited until Peter had vented enough of his anger before pulling him back. I cast a cold glare down at the bloody fat man lying motionless on the floor, casually tossing my cigarette butt onto him. A mocking smile didn't quite reach my eyes. Let's leave it at this for today. As for my brother's emotional compensation plus my service fee for lending a hand, someone will come talk to you tomorrow. With that, I dragged Peter and the two waitresses out of the room. How could Stella have expected things to turn out like this? She crawled over to the bed to help the fat man up. Boss Richard, I didn't know he was coming. That bastard dared to hurt you. We absolutely cannot let him get away with this. Richard glared at her, grinding his teeth in fury. He raised his hand and slapped her so hard she saw stars. This is all your fault, you wretched bitch. If it weren't for you, would this have happened? Fuming, Richard stormed out of the room. He didn't know Peter, but he knew me. I was the kind of man who could make half the country tremble just by stomping my foot. Stella tried to calm herself down, secretly vowing to take revenge on me and Peter. She put her clothes back on, opened the door and planned to sneak away. But right at the door she ran into the two waitresses who had just beaten her up. The two girls looked at her, flashing polite, professional smiles. Miss, you haven't settled your bill yet, you cannot leave. Stella, battered and bruised, trembled as she weakly replied, Didn't Richard already pay for the room? The girls exchanged a smirk. Miss, the items in the room have been damaged. You must pay compensation according to the retail price before leaving. A bedside table, a wooden rack, and the carpet. The total comes to $12,000. Will you be paying with card or cash? The Floral Joy Hotel was a luxury establishment, especially the third floor, designed for rich people with expensive tastes. This price was completely reasonable. Stella turned red with anger, shaking uncontrollably. But she was genuinely terrified of getting beaten again. Looking at the two girls, her legs turned to jelly. Furthermore, there were no cameras inside the room. With no way out, Stella had to go back into the room and call her family. As the door closed, she could still vaguely hear the two girls chatting in the hallway. Being someone's side piece and getting played like this, and she doesn't even have $12K on her, she really found herself a broke sugar daddy. Who knows what this idiot was thinking? Threw away a watermelon just to pick up a sesame seed. They didn't know me or Peter, but the person who handed me the keycard was the general manager of the hotel. The GM was a massive figure. They had never seen him act so subservient to anyone. Someone like me definitely had an astronomical background. Meanwhile, Silas was resting in his hotel in Antarctica when he suddenly received a call from his sister. He wondered why Stella would call him at this hour. Hearing her sobbing over the phone, his heart dropped. Bro, I got beaten up. They're forcing me to pay $12,000 in damages. I don't have that kind of money. Can you send me some? Hearing the amount, Silas frowned instinctively. If it weren't for Olivia having money and taking care of him, how could he even afford to go to Antarctica? Just then, Olivia pushed the door open and walked in. Seeing his worried expression, her heart ached. Silas, is something wrong? Olivia, my sister got bullied by a hotel in Harbor City. They're extorting her for $12,000. Can I borrow some money? I promise I won't bother you. Looking at the sad young man, Olivia's heart melted. He just started working. Where would he get that kind of money? If it's a hotel in Harbor City, I'll just call Blake and have him sort it out. She knew that as long as it was in Harbor City, no one dared to disrespect her name. Olivia casually pulled out her phone and texted me. But upon hitting send, she realized she had been blocked. That bastard blocked me? Feeling a sudden wave of panic, she quickly tried calling, only to find her number was blocked too. Olivia gritted her teeth in anger. Just because of this tiny little thing, that petty man is seriously ignoring me. I didn't even do anything out of line. I just took my subordinate on a trip. I was just worried Silas would be scared of the dark, so we shared a room. We're sleeping in separate beds anyway. Afraid of losing face in front of Silas, she gritted her teeth and transferred the $12,000. What she didn't notice was that after the transfer, she only had a few $100 left in her account. On the other side, receiving the money made Stella instantly arrogant again. You dead beaches. My brother's girlfriend is the eldest daughter of the Oliver family. Just wait until he gets back. I'll make you pay. Back at my place, looking at Peter's depressed state, I was both annoyed and amused. Tell me, I always told you to stop being so low-key. If Stella had known you were my private doctor and my best bro, would she have dared to go simp for someone else? She would have been on her knees worshipping you ages ago. Hearing this, Peter was full of pent-up anger. Stella said she hated rich people the most. She said her brother's girlfriend was forced by a rich guy, which is why she had to leave her brother. I instantly figured out what brother's girlfriend forced by a rich guy meant. She was definitely talking about Olivia. Just as I thought, Silas was a master manipulator. He was clearly the homewrecker who couldn't show his face, yet he spun the story to make himself the victim. Playing against an opponent of this level was honestly insulting to my intelligence. I'll help you handle the rest, I told Peter. You better not go soft on me. Peter looked downcast but nodded. All right, Then he asked, "What about Richard? How are you going to deal with him?" I chuckled darkly. "Instead of asking that, you should ask how many days he has left to live." I picked up my phone, called my assistant, and set my entire plan into motion. Back in the living room, Peter was still moping, wanting to get drunk to forget his sorrows. I patted his shoulder and made him sit down. "Don't be in a rush, we've got guests coming. The stage is set. The main character can't be absent." Richard, of course, didn't dare wait for me to come to him. He rushed to my gate to beg for forgiveness, but before he could even knock, the mansion gate swung open automatically. The security guards didn't even glance at him, treating him like empty air. This made Richard even more terrified. He felt like every single thought he had was resting in the palm of my hand. The head of security, Rex, looked at Richard like a predator spotting prey. They patted him down, confirmed he had no weapons, and finally let him in. Rex let out a satisfied sigh, looking fulfilled. He was finally doing some real work for Boss Blake. Otherwise, taking a salary for doing nothing was making him feel guilty. Led into the house by a servant, Richard squeezed out a fawning, desperate smile upon seeing me. "Mr. Blake, please be merciful and spare me this once. Whatever your brother wants, I will absolutely fulfill it." As he spoke, Richard dropped to his knees with practiced ease, a motion as smooth as flowing water. I raised an eyebrow, a hint of admiration in my eyes. "Not bad. What is professionalism? This is professionalism." This attitude of apology was truly sincere. Compared to the Oliver family, who just made a single phone call, this guy had way more hustle. Seeing that I didn't respond or list any conditions, Richard panicked even more. "Mr. Blake, how about this? This was all my fault. I am willing to compensate $15 million to resolve this matter." This was the maximum amount of liquid cash he could scrape together. He had prepared it before coming. After all, offending me meant that without bleeding heavily, he wasn't walking out of here alive. I glanced at Peter and said leisurely, "Old Pete, you aren't short on cash. Why do you need compensation? Later, I'll open a company for you, and you can be the CEO. That way, women won't look down on you anymore." Richard hastily chimed in, "Mr. Peter, I am willing to transfer 10% of my company's shares to you." I smirked, waving my hand in rejection. "Boss Richard, what's the point of being a minority shareholder? If he's not the biggest shareholder, he's just an errand boy." "Never mind, we don't need any compensation." Peter, not being a man of many words, just sat silently on the side. Richard had long heard of my dark, cunning nature, but he never expected me to demand such a massive chunk of his life. He had no right to resist. It was as if all his strength had been drained, even his will to live had gone soft. I will transfer 51% of my company's shares to Mr. Peter. Tomorrow I will hold the handover ceremony." Seeing his sincere attitude, it would have been rude of me to refuse. Since Boss Richard is so generous, it's hard to decline such hospitality. When Richard stood up, his legs were trembling. Just because he messed around with one woman, he lost more than half his company. He regretted it to the point of wanting to die. He thought to himself that before leaving the hotel, he really should have beaten Stella one more time. It was all her fault he ended up like this. If he couldn't live comfortably, she wasn't going to have a good time either. Just as he turned to leave, my voice echoed again. "Old Pete, since you're going to be the major shareholder of a company tomorrow, it'd be a joke if you didn't have at least $30 million in your pocket. Don't worry, I'll transfer it to you later." Richard stumbled, almost face-planting into the floor, and forced a stiff smile. "Mr. Blake, such a trivial matter, how could I trouble you? Tomorrow, when signing the transfer contract, I will personally transfer $15 million to Mr. Peter. Talk about wanting your cake, eating it, and then demanding the bakery too." Richard couldn't take it anymore. He made up his mind. The moment he got back, he was going to butcher Stella. Peter had a face as cold as ancient ice the entire time. He didn't quite understand why I was doing all this. It definitely wasn't for the money. Seeing through his thoughts, I flashed a wicked smirk. If I remember correctly, the new intern at Richard's company is Stella, right? Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten tangled up with him. Peter remained cold, but a flicker of emotion crossed his eyes. I threw an arm over his shoulder. "She's just a woman. What's there to be heartbroken about? Think of it this way. Everyone steps in dog crap at least once in their life." As soon as I finished speaking, the sound of heels clicking down the stairs echoed. Two girls walked down. The one in front wore a light purple cheongsam, and the one behind wore a cute, pink schoolgirl skirt. Seeing them, Peter instinctively dodged my arm. I'm gonna head home first." Violet escorted Peter to the door, then trotted back, picking up a wineglass from the table. She gently advised, "Young master, drinking cold Coke in the summer is bad for your health." Saying that, she grabbed a room-temperature Coke from the kitchen. Before she could pour it, I raised my hand to stop her. "Give it a rest. Drinking warm Coke in this heat is like drinking horse pee." I walked over and pinched Violet's cheek hard. She let out a tiny yelp of pain but didn't dare resist, only looking at me with innocent puppy eyes. Whenever Violet did something to displease me, I always took it out on her. I returned to my study on the second floor. Just as I finished handling some corporate emails, the system's voice chimed in my head. "Ding! Congratulations to the host for helping Peter turn the tables. You have received a massive mystery reward. Would you like to open it?" Since I was free, I replied, "Sure, pop it open. Congratulations. You have received $15,000 in startup capital, master-level martial arts and forward-thinking business vision. I rubbed my temples, shaking my head. Bro, I make billions fluctuate by the minute. You're giving me $15K as startup capital? Are you mocking me? And at 18, I was the uncrowned king of the underworld. I'm holding the overpowered protagonist script. Even elite mercenaries get beaten so hard by me they forget their own parents. The system sounded incredibly wronged. The angst to rich factor wasn't deep enough, so the rewards are limited. Don't blame me. I ignored it. Listening to my assistant's progress report, he said, Mr. Blake, after cutting ties with the Oliver family, other businesses noticed the rift between you and them, and they've all turned their backs on the Olivers as well. I nodded. Good. You don't need to bother me with the rest. For trivial matters like this, handle it yourself. Let the bullets fly for a while. What kind of melodramatic female lead does she think she is, playing games with me? I'll make sure her downfall has a very nice rhythm to it. After hanging up, my assistant was practically shaking in his boots. That idiot Olivia dared to do something like this. Even if I ordered her execution, my assistant wouldn't be surprised. But he hadn't expected me to strike down the entire Oliver family. They were truly done for. Just as I put the phone down, I received a call from Father Oliver. His tone was even more subservient than before. Little Blake, I was wrong. We've known each other for so many years. Please? Leave the Oliver family a way out. In just a few hours, the Oliver family had lost nearly $15 million. And that was just the opening move. The smaller forces hadn't even had time to act yet. By tomorrow, their losses would multiply by 100. I was getting annoyed. Boss Oliver, let's not act so chummy. You don't realize you were wrong. You just realize your family is about to be wiped out. With that, I hung up and blocked his number. Ever since our families arranged the engagement, Father Oliver had leached billions off me. Relying on my name, he had pulled in countless investments. Given my status, I really didn't care how greedy he was. Besides, marrying Olivia was my grandfather's wish. I didn't mind throwing some pocket change their way. But Olivia pulled a stunt like this, and there was no way her father didn't know about it. Now that the water was rising to his neck, it was too late to be afraid. That night, I called my parents and briefed them on my recent plans. Upon hearing about the Oliver family's shameless behavior, they ground their teeth in anger and told me to completely annihilate them. The next morning, after a whole night of trying to persuade me, the system still couldn't change my mind. Finally, it gave up. Fine, do whatever you want, host. If you don't want to find the angst male leads, then don't. As for me, I decided to visit Richard's company to check things out. The moment I arrived, I immediately drew everyone's attention. An extended luxury car wasn't necessarily rare in Harbor City, but a license plate with all sixes was extremely exclusive. The receptionists at the company stared at me with glowing eyes. The aura I exuded was so overpowering that the employees at the door lowered their heads, nobody daring to ask questions, just letting me stroll right in. My gaze landed on a man in the corner. When our eyes met, his gaze flickered, quickly changing into a fawning expression. But behind the flattery was a deep, poorly concealed malice and resentment. I didn't recall knowing this guy. Instinctively, I activated the clairvoyance eye. Name: Kyle. I chuckled inwardly, unable to hold back a laugh. This system really only gives out garbage. What can I say? This was yet another male lead of an angst novel. The system gave the supporting male characters all kinds of idiotic actions, while the male leads just got tortured miserably. I smirked. You seem to really hate me, huh? Kyle didn't know why, but he truly despised me from the bottom of his heart. Sir, this is our first time meeting. Why would I hate you? I didn't care about his answer and yawned lazily. Probably. The system, seeing I had no intention of intervening to help either the protagonist or the antagonist, grew anxious. You have to pick one. I rested my chin on my hand, looking bored. Depends on my mood. Otherwise, I'll just call my assistant and have someone deal with it. The system was speechless. It had absolutely nothing left to offer a guy who already had everything. Upstairs, the shareholders' meeting concluded. Peter successfully took over 51% of Richard's company. I was too lazy to go up, so I waited in the reception room. Not long after, Stella, with her face swollen like a pig's head, walked in. When she arrived at work today, I was already in the reception room. Fortunately for her, I hadn't noticed her. Stella carefully walked toward her desk but was blocked by a coworker. Stella, you're fired. You don't need to come in anymore. Hearing this, Stella froze. What? How is that possible? I don't believe it. Where is Richard? The receptionist glared at her like she was looking at trash. Stop relying on Boss Richard. The company has a new CCO now. Your sugar daddy is useless. Get lost. In the past, relying on her connection with Richard, Stella had bullied half the office, so everyone despised her. Stella tried to force her way in, but 2 security guards blocked her tightly. Losing her backing, seeing Richard exposed and beaten twice, her mental state was already on the verge of collapse. Her face twisted as she screamed hoarsely, I don't believe you! You're lying to me! I want to see Richard. Just then, Peter and the others finished their meeting. Seeing Stella making a scene, the other shareholders coldly barked, Drag this crazy woman out. Don't dirty Mr. Peter's eyes. This was the newly appointed CEO. Making a racket here was highly inappropriate. Richard stepped out in front of everyone and announced that Peter was now the majority shareholder. Her ex-boyfriend was now her mega boss. This psychological gap drove Stella into a frenzy. I stepped out of the reception room, waving my hand lazily. Don't let this woman into the company ever again. Otherwise, I'll seriously question the competence of your security team. The two guards gritted their teeth, grabbed Stella, and threw her out of the building. She fell face first into the dirt, her freshly applied makeup smudged by tears. With her swollen red cheeks, she looked absolutely hideous. In the past, if Peter had seen Stella treated like this, he would have flown into a rage. But now, looking at this scene, his heart didn't ripple in the slightest. She was dirty trash. He didn't want her anymore. I was very satisfied with the guard's actions. I narrowed my eyes. From now on, everyone's salary gets a 20% bump. Peter looked helpless. Didn't you give me the shares? You're the one giving the orders now. It wasn't until we left the company, got into the luxury car, and drove off that Stella finally snapped out of her daze on the ground. Seeing Richard about to leave, she scrambled over and hugged his leg, tears welling in her eyes. Richard, you can't treat me like this. I have nothing left. Richard didn't want to waste a second. He spat in disgust. Shut your mouth. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be in this mess. You better stay out of my sight or I'll beat you every time I see you. Stella grabbed his pants like a broken vase. Don't go. My brother's girlfriend is the eldest daughter of the Oliver family. If you treat me like this, my brother won't let you get away with it. Hearing this, Richard laughed coldly and kicked her in the chest. A piece of trash like you actually thinks you know the Oliver heiress? The engagement between the Blake and Oliver families is common knowledge in high society. Olivia throwing away a rich, handsome god like Boss Blake to date your brother. Anyone with a working brain knows that's impossible. He didn't believe a word Stella said. He shook her off and prepared to flee the country as fast as possible. But as his car drove along a mountainside, a massive explosion echoed, and countless boulders came crashing down. Inside my car, my head of security and driver Rex asked, Mr. Blake, are we heading back to the mansion or the company? My fingers glided across my laptop keyboard. Mansion first. What's the situation with the Oliver family? Rex flashed his signature Dragon King smirk. After you cut ties, the Oliver family is teetering on the edge. They probably won't last a month. Normally, an enterprise of their scale couldn't be devoured so quickly. Unfortunately, while they were big, they had zero cash flow lately. Plus, with my explicit orders, no one dared to work with them anymore. I frowned, not entirely satisfied. That's still too long. Make them disappear within 2 weeks. Rex smiled dangerously. Yes, sir. Leave it to me. His name, Rex, wasn't just for show. Aside from mastering martial arts and assassination, he was a genius in corporate warfare. I trusted him completely with these trivial matters. Just as I was about to close my eyes and rest, the system started screaming in my head. Host! Host! I found an angst male lead. We found him! Help him! I glanced out the window and saw the so-called male lead. A man in tattered clothes, messy hair, and a face covered in dirt. As he walked, it was obvious his right leg was crippled. His info popped up. Name Thomas. Childhood sweetheart of the eldest daughter of the Lily family. Due to their status difference, they never confessed their feelings. Later, Thomas saved Lily from drowning but fell into a coma. Kyle stole the credit. From then on, Thomas lived a life of humiliation. Recently, Lily listened to Kyle and threw Thomas deep into the mountains to teach him some manners. Thomas endured brutal torture, barely escaped, but his body is at its limit. He will die in 2 days. Mission: save the male lead and heal him. I signaled Rex to stop the car. I looked outside. Hey Rex, what do you think? Would a woman blindly trust someone else, knowing her guy best friend and her childhood sweetheart hate each other? If she truly loved the sweetheart, would she throw him into the deep mountains and leave him there? Rex tilted his head, a disdainful smirk on his face. Probably not. What kind of proper woman has a guy best friend anyway? A woman with a male bestie is just wishing her boyfriend an early death. How could she love him, knowing they hate each other and still listening to the other guy? That's just trying to get her boyfriend killed. There's nothing to think about. I chuckled internally. This country bumpkin Rex is so blunt. If he wasn't weaker than me, he'd probably be out here beating people up 3 times a day. I patted his shoulder. People are greedy. They want this, they want that, and then they want more. I'm in a good mood today. If Thomas's answer satisfies me, I don't mind giving him a hand. Rex stepped out and dragged Thomas over. Your boss, Blake? Thomas had followed Lily around enough to recognize me. Why are you looking for me? Did Lily send you to pick me up? I actually laughed out loud. Lily sent me to pick you up? That's a good joke. Don't mention Lily. Even if you combined all the geniuses of her family, they wouldn't even be fit to tie my shoes. Thomas didn't see the humor but realized this had nothing to do with Lily. He forced a smile, but the movement cracked the scars on his lips, making them bleed. Rex calmly handed him a tissue. Wipe that yourself. Don't dirty the boss's car. Thomas coughed. He knew he didn't have long to live. The illness and torture would claim him in days. Mr. Blake, what do you need from me? I lit a cigarette, gently blowing a smoke ring. I want to ask you, if I gave you a chance for revenge, how would you retaliate against Lily and Kyle? Rex smirked as the car slowly rolled forward. He knew his boss was about to meddle. Whatever Thomas had been through, this was going to be fun. It all depended on whether Thomas gave the right answer. Thomas stared at me, blankly at first. Then, Emotions surged in his eyes, ultimately crystallizing into pure, unadulterated hatred. I want everything I suffered to be inflicted upon them. I want them to beg for death. Was quite satisfied with his answer. If Thomas had said he wanted to wish them happiness, I would have kicked him out of a moving car and let him rot. I pressed a button on the center console. From the left door panel, several silver needles popped out. Without even looking, I grabbed them and plunged them straight into the major acupoints on Thomas's body. Seeing this, the system shrieked in horror. Are you kidding me? Is that how you use the 9 deaths resurrection needles? You're supposed to find a quiet room, lay him down flat, and focus. It's a lost ancient technique. You didn't even look before stabbing him. The system had seen a lot in its lifetime, but a host like me was a first. In just a few breaths, the color visibly returned to Thomas's face. He had been tortured in the mountains for so long he hadn't even eaten real food. Only leftovers stomped on by guards or actual dog food. His stomach was completely ruined. I saved his life right then and there. But suddenly, a wave of intense dizziness hit him. Thomas grabbed the seat to steady himself. The sudden movement tore open the bandages wrapped around his body. The guards who tortured him had been afraid of getting caught, so they avoided his face and focused entirely on areas covered by clothes, beating him half to death. Thomas looked absolutely horrific, but with my treatment, he was recovering decently well. Now, he had no choice but to believe I was genuinely helping him. Mr. Blake, thank you. From now on, my life is yours. He was incredibly curious how I was going to help him get justice. Under his astonished gaze, Rex drove the car straight to the police station. Staring at the glowing blue sign, Thomas scratched his head. Mr. Blake, I slapped the back of his head. What, Mr. Blake? If you're in trouble, call the cops. Don't you know that? Illegal imprisonment, torture, abuse. That's enough to lock those bastards away for years. Did you think this world had no laws? Some hired thugs doing something this blatantly illegal. They're practically begging for a death sentence. Because the wounds on Thomas were so severe, and because the police found human hair and foul waste in his stomach, a broken right leg, and the words "dirty dog" burned into his left leg with cigarettes, the officers wouldn't have believed a man could survive this if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes. Witnesses, evidence, it was all there. All that was left was to make the arrests. By the time Thomas walked out of the station, he was still in a daze. The system was also dumbfounded. Your medical skills are insane. You could have completely healed him. Why did you only heal him halfway? If he's not fully healed, the mission isn't complete. Don't you want your rewards? I smiled faintly. It's nothing. I just suddenly wanted to conduct a fun little experiment. To kill a person, you must first destroy their mind. Seeing the guilty conscience of the heartless is boring, but exposing the ugly truth of human nature, that's highly entertaining. The system paused. Experiment. What experiment? Why don't you finish the mission first? I flicked my ash, too lazy to explain. None of your business. Just healing him is too boring. Naturally, we have to make those who hurt him suffer 100-fold. That's what you call a true revenge. According to the system, this was a merged world of angst novels. Since there were multiple male leads, I might as well play some games. That same day, the 3 guards were thrown in jail. But the masterminds, Lily and Kyle, hadn't been caught yet. The guards took the fall, claiming they acted alone. The Lily family had immense power. Slipping through the cracks of the law was child's play for them. Leaving the police station, Lily's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. Investigate this. Find out where that bastard Thomas is hiding. I just told them to teach him some manners. And he actually dared to call the cops. Does he not know I'm about to marry him? He actually has the nerve to go against me. 5 minutes later, she got a call. Miss, we found him. He's currently at the Royal Dragon Courtyard in the Bright Moon Estate. Lily was suspicious of how efficient her subordinates had suddenly become, but she didn't care. She grabbed Kyle and rushed to the courtyard. A Rolls-Royce stopped at the gates. They got out and quickly spotted Thomas. He was sitting quietly in a corner, staring at me with dead eyes. Kyle noticed me too, his eyes flashing with disdain. So this is Blake, helping a loser like Thomas? He clearly has no eyes. He had heard Lily mention my name many times. Decisive, ruthless, a visionary, venomous heart, and possessing unparalleled beauty. His face really is indescribably beautiful, Kyle thought. Too bad he's a man. Whatever, I just need to cling to Lily's thighs. Lily walked up to the courtyard gate, glaring coldly at me. Mr. Blake, I don't know how I offended you, but why are you backing my fiancé and calling the police? In her eyes, she had done nothing wrong. Thomas definitely wouldn't have called the cops himself. I must have been the mastermind. While her family wasn't quite at the Blake family's level, they weren't far off. She felt entirely justified and determined to make me apologize. Seeing the main characters arrive, I snapped my fingers. Rex expertly dragged Thomas to the gate. Lily didn't understand the gesture at first, but Kyle's face turned incredibly ugly. He opened his mouth to stop it, but Rex shot him a glare that scared him into silence. Following my order, Thomas ripped open his shirt, revealing the dense, horrific scars underneath. Lily frowned. Thomas's eyes no longer held any of their former gentleness, only extreme disgust and boundless hatred. What are you here for? Thomas growled. Haven't tortured me enough? Want to throw me back in there? Hearing his words, Lily felt a fleeting pang of heartache. but it quickly vanished into annoyance. What nonsense are you spouting? I just told the guards to take you away and teach you a lesson, to make you behave. I never told them to torture you. Stop making a scene. When you act like this, it really exhausts me. Thomas laughed coldly, pulling his shirt further apart. Just on his chest alone, there were dozens of cigarette burns. Crisscrossing cuts looked like he'd been chewed on by wild animals. Raw flesh mixed with blood was exposed. Lily's face completely changed. She stood frozen, staring in disbelief. Trembling, she reached out to touch him but yanked her hand back as if she had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. How did this happen? I didn't tell them to do this. Thomas gritted his teeth. What? Did I not beg you? You said to teach me a good lesson. As long as I didn't die, anything goes. Did you forget? When I was first locked in the mountains, I called you for help before they took my phone. But you hung up immediately. Do you know how I survived this past month? All because of you. One sentence from you and I lived a life worse than a dog. Tears miraculously formed in Lily's usually cold eyes. She shook her head, denying it frantically.
No, that's not true. I didn't know it would turn out like this.
Thomas pointed at Kyle standing next to her, his eyes filled with despair. You handed the task of taking me to the mountains to him. Couldn't you guess what my fate would be? He didn't believe Lily couldn't foresee how he'd be treated. Lily suddenly whipped her head around, staring at Kyle with a chilling glare she had never shown before. Kyle, did you do this? Kyle didn't dare admit it. Seeing them argue, a figure flashed by like lightning. Kyle's body flew through the air like a broken sack of potatoes. I stood at the gate. Stop talking so much. If you want to do something, just do it. Thomas looked at me with deep admiration, the thrill of revenge surging within him. I lit a cigarette, taking a deep drag. Hurry up. Don't waste time. If you beat him to death, I'll take the fall. Lily looked at the beaten Kyle, her emotions complex. Mr. Blake, you hit my person right in front of me. Isn't that a bit inappropriate? I cleaned my ear with a pinky. Yeah, it's a bit inappropriate. So just swallow it and deal with it. Receiving my nod, Thomas marched forward, grabbed a baseball bat from Rex, and swung it viciously down on Kyle. Over the past month, all those vows of eternal love had been completely eradicated. Kyle, his ribs already broken by my kick, lay on the floor unable to resist. Lily's eyes reddened as she tried to pull Thomas back. Thomas, what are you doing? Thomas didn't even look at her. He shoved her away and delivered several hard slaps across her face. Where were you when I was being tortured? Now that I'm beating your lover. Your heart aches. Lily trembled with rage. I told you I didn't know. I will investigate this. No matter who did this, I won't let them go. After all, you are my fiancé. I clapped my hands from the sidelines, praising her logic. Bravo, bravo. You almost got your fiancé killed and you still want to marry him? May I ask how a brain completely made of 99k pure gutter sludge operates? I seriously doubt if people in this angst universe have any common sense. How can such garbage spew out of your mouth? Before Lily could retort, she yelled for her guards. Are you blind? Stop him! But her two guards didn't even get a chance to move before Rex knocked them out cold with two lightning-fast kicks. Boss, what do we do with this chick? Should we bag her up too? Rex asked. He didn't care what the Lily family was. Anyone who disrespected his boss was getting dealt with. I rubbed my chin, looking at Lily with mock severity. Rex, don't talk nonsense. This is the eldest daughter of the Lily family. How can we talk about murder in broad daylight? Rex flashed his wicked smile and made a throat-slitting gesture. You mean we ship her overseas first and then? His menacing aura sent shivers down Lily's spine. But she came from a powerful family and had countless backers. She truly didn't believe Rex dared to touch her. What angered her most was Thomas. In the past, he cherished her like a treasure, afraid she'd break or melt, let alone beating her. He couldn't even bear to lay a finger on her. Thomas, you actually hit me? I told you I didn't know. I will give you a proper explanation. What is the meaning of this? Do you not even trust me anymore? Thomas slapped her hand away, gritting his teeth and pointing at his scars. Trust you? I used to trust you, and look where it got me. You better pray I don't get a chance. Otherwise, I will make you taste every single thing I went through, bit by bit. The hatred in Thomas's eyes made Lily shudder. She realized he genuinely wanted to kill her. But remembering their past, Lily's eyes teared up as she tried to justify herself. I didn't know. I really didn't know. Don't worry, I will avenge you. Whoever hurt you, I'll make them pay 100 times over. I took a folder from a guard and tossed it right at Lily's face. Miss Lily, you'll definitely find this interesting. She looked at the contents, her already ugly expression turning into a thundercloud. The documents proved that the person who saved her from drowning back then wasn't Kyle at all. She had trusted Kyle blindly because she thought she owed him her life. If she had known Thomas was her savior, none of this would have happened. Thinking about how she had hurt Thomas over the years by listening to Kyle, Lily felt like 1,000 knives were slicing her heart. Extreme agony washed over her. How could this be? This animal dared to lie to me. She aimed her 8-centimeter stiletto heel straight between Kyle's legs and stomped hard. Kyle's scream was even more agonizing than before. Lily turned back to Thomas, her expression instantly shifting to deep guilt. She reached out to hold his hand. Thomas, I'm so sorry. It's my fault. It's all my fault for mistaking the person. Believe me, I will make it up to you from now on. Thomas didn't even hesitate, dodging her grasp. Make it up to me. How are you going to make up for these scars? Or are you willing to do what I did, be raised as a dog for a month? If you are, I might forgive your past mistakes. Compared to what she had done to him, this condition was incredibly merciful. Time and time again, Kyle framed him. Time and time again, Lily blindly believed Kyle. Countless times Thomas wanted to leave her, but the Lily family's power was too vast. She refused to let him go, insisting on marrying him. Watching them argue, I patted Rex's shoulder. Want to make a bet? Rex had a bad feeling about this. Bet on what, boss? I thought for a second and held up one finger. I bet 1 year of your salary. Rex's face turned bitter. Boss, stop joking. Let's just play for fun. Worst case scenario, I work as your bodyguard for free for another year. It's not like I can leave anyway. Seeing Lily crying so heartbrokenly, she looked like she was ready to die for Thomas. Tell you what, I won't take advantage of you. I bet she won't agree to Thomas's request. Rex really wanted to say he also thought she'd refuse, but I beat him to the punch. Fine, then I bet she will agree, he thought to himself. The boss could have just forced me to work for free, but he gave me a betting chance. My boss is so kind. Lily looked at Thomas with pleading, sorrowful eyes. I was wrong before. I will prove that the person I love most has always been you. Everything you suffered I will return to Kyle. Thomas looked at the woman he had grown up with. He realized he had never truly understood her. The guilt on her face made him sick. Is that so? Then as long as you leave with me, I won't pursue this anymore. Boss Blake has a property overseas. Are you willing to go live on an island with me? Hearing this, Lily subconsciously took 2 steps back. She glanced at Thomas, then at me. She didn't believe Thomas would actually hurt her, but I made her highly cautious. She didn't want to leave with Thomas. Thomas's heart turned to ash. He didn't look at her anymore. The bat in his hand swung down viciously onto Kyle's spine. A crisp crack echoed. Kyle passed out on the spot. Get lost, Thomas growled. Panicking, Lily got into her car and sped back to the Lily estate. Rex watched her car disappear and couldn't help but swear. Damn it, this wretched girl just cost me another year of unpaid labor. I pulled a card from my jacket and tossed it to Thomas. Those guys are locked up in prison. If you want, you can go in and play with them. They're never getting out anyway. Thomas took the card and thanked me. He was about to ask about Lily but swallowed his words. If he had paid closer attention, he would have noticed that the moment Lily left, Rex had also disappeared. The system, seeing I actually messed with Lily, was filled with grievance. Host. Thomas and Lily are the male and female leads. They love each other deeply. If you just healed Thomas, they could have lived happily ever after. You over-completed the mission. I scoffed. Love each other deeply? If she loved him deeply, she wouldn't have locked him in the mountains. If I complete all your missions, and another system suddenly pops up, and I choose to give all your rewards to that one, but I tell you, the system I admire most is still you, would you believe me? The system was rendered speechless. Just thinking about that scenario made it furious. But host, Lily was tricked. She deeply loves the male lead. She's willing to do anything for him. I flicked my cigarette ash, my smile deepening. Looks like my guess was right. You systems are really mass-produced. Plus, when I complete missions, you must get some sort of reward too. But whether there's another system in this world, that's yet to be seen. If it was true love, why didn't she agree to go overseas with him just now? You really don't understand human nature. Talking to a brainless system like you is pointless. The system wanted to explain further, but realized I couldn't hear it anymore. Oh my god, the host blocked me again. It remembered the system manual, saying systems could unilaterally cut contact with hosts. Why was it completely reversed for him? At the same time, a Lamborghini sped past Lily's car. Inside were the Oliver parents. They had been driven insane over the past 2 days. In just 1 day, dozens of partners canceled their contracts. They'd rather pay hefty breach of contract penalties than stay associated with the Oliver family. Employees were jumping ship left and right, pushing the already crumbling Oliver Corp into absolute despair. Oscar Oliver had contacted old friends, hoping for a lifeline, but the people at the top were all cunning foxes. Once they knew it was between me and the Olivers, everyone chose to side with me. Backed into a corner, Oscar had no choice but to apologize in person. Getting out of the car, they saw me sunbathing in the middle of the courtyard. They tried to enter but were stopped by the guards. No matter what, the Blake and Oliver families have years of friendship. Please show mercy and leave us a way out. Are you really going to force this old man to kneel and beg before you forgive Olivia? Fiona quickly pulled Oscar's sleeve, signaling wildly with her eyes. What are you doing? No matter what Olivia did, little Blake wouldn't make you kneel. I laughed, waving my hand casually. Sure, kneel then. Hearing this, Oscar hesitated, a flicker of hope in his eyes. If I kneel, you'll spare my company? Fiona yanked him back, glaring at me fiercely. You little animal, we are your elders. How dare you speak to us like that? I smirked. Kneel or don't kneel. It's up to you. Fiona wanted to keep fighting, but Oscar leaned close to her ear and muttered something that silenced her instantly. If we piss him off more, the company is going bankrupt. Forget about buying those luxury goods you love ever again. Hearing bankrupt, Fiona calmed down. In front of everyone, Oscar dropped to his knees at the courtyard gate. Little Blake, please, look at this old man's face and spare my company. I glanced at their car parked nearby, finding Oscar's little circus act pathetic. You misunderstood. I never promised to spare your company. Besides, your business is failing. Bankruptcy is inevitable. Coming to me won't change a thing. I can't help you. Oscar was struck as if by lightning. He pointed a trembling finger at me but couldn't form words. I waved my hand, losing all interest. All right, get this eyesore out of here, so dirty. I wouldn't have used this trick even when I was 10. The guards complied, dragging the two of them out. Honestly, if I hadn't wanted to see them, they wouldn't have even had the right to step near the courtyard. Looking at dozens of missed calls on my phone, I sent the video I just recorded to a specific contact. Early that morning, Olivia noticed something wrong with her supplementary credit card. While eating breakfast on the yacht, she swiped her card and casually checked the balance. Ever since getting engaged to me, her credit limit was practically infinite, but for some reason, she felt the urge to check it today. Seeing the balance at $500, she thought her eyes were playing tricks. She quickly checked her other cards, only to find they were all frozen. Silas walked out of the bathroom, noticing her panic. Suspicious but wearing a gentle smile, he asked, "What's wrong, Olivia? Is something the matter, or is Boss Blake giving you trouble again?" Hearing my name, Olivia's face darkened further. Silas smiled slightly but continued to play the caring boyfriend. "Why don't we go back? Let's stop playing around here, lest Boss Blake gets angrier at you." Olivia forced a smile, brushing off the topic, but her resentment toward me grew. Does that bastard think doing this will force me to bow my head? She didn't believe that as the eldest daughter of Harbor City's top family, she couldn't easily make a few bucks. She immediately called her close friends, but as soon as the calls connected, she got the dial tone. They hung up on her. Disbelieving, she called several more numbers, with the same result. Everyone hung up on her as fast as humanly possible. A terrible premonition rose in Olivia's heart. In high society, when this happens, there are only two possibilities. 1. Your family is bankrupt and people fear you'll ask for money. 2. You offended someone untouchable, and bankruptcy isn't far off anyway. Impossible. How could this happen? Right then, she received a text message from an unknown number. "Miss Oliver, you wouldn't want this video to go viral, would you?" Looking at the video, her first reaction was that it was a deepfake. But no matter how she scrutinized it, she found no traces of editing. When she tried to call or text the number back, there was no response. Now truly panicking, she frantically called her dad. "Dad, what's going on? What the hell did Blake do?" Fiona, having just lost face and been mocked by me, was boiling with rage. Seeing Olivia's call, she snatched the phone and wailed, "Daughter, come home quickly. If you don't come back, Blake is going to torture your mother to death." "What? He dared to treat you guys like that? That guy has gone too far. I'll come back right now. I'll make him fire those guards and force him to kneel and apologize to you, Mom." Hearing the conversation between mother and daughter, Oscar couldn't even be bothered to speak. My absolute ruthlessness proved there was zero chance of reconciliation between me and Olivia. He had never realized before just how brainless his wife and daughter were. Fire the guards? Kneel and apologize? What fantasy world are they living in? He snatched the phone back and roared at Olivia, "Get your ass home right now. If you don't come back, just die out there." Shocked by her father's sudden outburst, Olivia turned pale. But thinking of her family's situation, even if this was Blake's fault, she was partly involved. Still, she didn't know how to admit her current problem. Was she supposed to say she didn't have money for a ticket home? The issue was, anyone she could borrow from was ignoring her. With no choice, Olivia confessed her situation. Oscar ground his teeth. "Didn't I leave you travel expenses? Even if it's not much, it's enough to get back from Antarctica." Then, Olivia recounted her situation with Silas. Hearing it, Oscar saw stars. He gripped the phone so hard his hand shook. Fine, I'll transfer you the money. Just get your ass back here." His daughter was dumber than he could have ever imagined. He couldn't be bothered to scold her anymore. But hearing Peter's name gave him a new idea. Fiona asked anxiously, "Hubby, what do we do? That little animal really wants to drive us into a dead end." Oscar couldn't hold back. He slapped her hard across the face. "This is all because you raised such a great daughter." She couldn't even wait a few days. She just had to dump him right on the day they were supposed to register their marriage. He was already arrogant, and that idiot daughter of yours dared to give him attitude. That marriage certificate was something we begged for. If we didn't, the Blake family would just be on a trip right now, not registering anything. Fiona fell to the floor, staring blankly at Oscar. Only when he stomped upstairs and slammed the study door did she cradle her cheek, pick up a cup and hurl it at the stairs, screaming like a banshee. "You hit me? Good, very good. Now you dare hit me?" She charged upstairs, but the study door was locked tight. Oscar couldn't be bothered with this crazy woman. He realized that neither his wife nor his daughter would ever stop being a liability. He had to rely on himself. If Blake wasn't going to show mercy, then don't blame him for playing dirty. He didn't just come to beg for forgiveness today. He had made a decision. He immediately sent people to get to work. Half a minute later, I got a call. Listening to Rex's report, I wasn't surprised at all. Lazily shifting my posture, I said, "Fine, if he wants to jump, let him jump. The higher he climbs, the harder he falls." I hope the Oliver family can hold out for at least 3 days. Otherwise, it'll be too boring. As for Lily, I'll go check on her later. The people Oscar thought were actually all my people. He thought his plan was foolproof, completely under the radar, but whether he could pull it off depended entirely on whether I gave him the chance. Half an hour later, Rex and I arrived deep in the mountains east of Harbor City. Thomas stood at the gate waving at me from afar. As soon as the door opened, a figure lunged at me. It was a woman, her face covered in blood and grime. Instinctively, I delivered a roundhouse kick, sending her flying back. What the hell is that ugly thing? The woman flew backwards, only to be kicked again by someone else, rolling in the dirt. A petite figure in black leather stepped out, placing a foot on the woman's face and waving to the sides. Keep an eye on her, don't let her be an eyesore here. Waiting for the guards to drag the woman away, Violet walked up and tugged my sleeve. The two guards coughed, carefully reminding Rex, "Boss, the person inside is Lily. She was brought here and couldn't escape. She tried a few times. Finally, Miss Violet gave her a chance to fight one-on-one. When Lily saw me appear, she glared at me, nervous and restless. Blake, you dare touch me? Aren't you afraid our families will go to war over this? I paid zero attention to her threat. Go to war? Does the Lily family even have the right? Thomas walked out from inside. He hadn't expected me to actually move against Lily, and without the slightest hesitation. It seemed this boss Blake's power was far greater than he had imagined. Mr. Blake, I have a favor to ask. I pulled out a cigarette and put it in my mouth. No problem. Speak. Thomas waved his hand. From the next room, 3 timid women walked out. They were around 40, wearing tattered clothes and smelling sour. Mr. Blake, I want them to help me with something. I plan to pay them a few $100,000 for their trouble, and maybe arrange a place for them to stay. These 3 women were beggars he had asked Rex to find. I thought he was going to ask for something major. Didn't I tell you? The money in that card is yours to use however you want. You don't need to report trivial things to me. Lily felt an ominous premonition rising in her chest. She struggled frantically, trying to beg Thomas. Thomas, what are you doing? We are childhood sweethearts. Do you really have the heart to treat me like this? Thomas laughed bitterly, veins popping on his forehead. His voice was deep and hoarse. Childhood sweethearts? So you actually remember that? Then why did you treat me like that for Kyle? Finding herself in grave danger, knowing she wouldn't escape a terrible fate, Lily still cared about her pride. I told you, he tricked me. Why won't you forgive me? I wanted to marry you. Thomas remembered how Lily used to say she loved him, while unconditionally favoring Kyle, letting Kyle frame him over and over. He gritted his teeth, waving the 3 women over. You 3. Entertain the eldest daughter of the Lily family well. For 1 month, as long as you don't kill her, you can play with her however you want. The 3 women exchanged glances. Play however we want. You won't change your mind later, right, sir? Thomas gritted his teeth, his voice filled with malice. I won't. Doesn't she admire dogs? 1 month from now, I want to see her as obedient as a dog. Lily tried to say more, but the guards quickly stuffed a rag in her mouth. Thomas knelt down and stroked her face. Do you know how I lived that month? The guards fed me their leftovers, but only after the dogs ate. When there was no food, I had to chew leaves, gnaw on bark, and even drink milk tea made from their hair. If I woke up slightly late, or if they were in a bad mood, they beat me with sticks. Have you ever tasted human waste? Have you ever had your wounds sliced open, smeared with honey, and covered in ants? Lily shook her head wildly, her eyes wide with terror, her entire body trembling uncontrollably. She would rather die than endure this inhumane torture. But Thomas gently comforted her. Don't worry. See? You arranged for 3 male guards for me, so I won't let men hurt you either. I specifically chose people of the same gender for you. Lily's exquisite face was drenched in tears, mixing with the grime. She admitted she had wronged Thomas, but she absolutely refused to pay the price this way. Having stated his intentions, Thomas turned around and dropped to his knees in front of me. Without a word, he kowtowed 3 times. Mr. Blake, from today onward, my life belongs to you. He didn't know why I helped him, but he knew exactly what his life was worth. The money on the card I gave him was enough to buy his life countless times over. The only thing he could give me was his life itself. Rex pulled him up. Cut the loyalty speeches. The boss doesn't like this stuff. Just do your job well from now on. Even Rex didn't understand how someone like Thomas could help me. Moreover, since we already made a move, why not just finish her off? Why keep her alive? Wasn't that just asking for trouble? But his boss never made a losing deal. He must have his own calculations. Besides, he could tell Thomas would be a loyal subordinate. Rex never misjudged people, except his own boss. Just as we were about to leave, Violet walked up to Lily. With a blank expression, she raised her foot and stomped on Lily's right leg. A crisp snap echoed. Violet continued, stomping and breaking the bones in Lily's left arm. Then she calmly walked back. While Lily couldn't beat Violet, her combat skills weren't bad. The 3 beggar women were just ordinary people and might not have been able to overpower her, so Violet crippled her first, ensuring she couldn't escape. Thomas stood there, trembling as he watched. When the 3 guards tortured him, they did it with some emotion, whether excitement or anger. When humans commit brutal acts, there is usually emotion involved, but Violet was different. Her movements were incredibly practiced, like she had done this thousands of times. The entire time, her face didn't change, her eyes didn't even blink. She was as calm as if she were drinking a glass of water. In my head, the system notification rang. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission. You have received an upgraded version of the clairvoyance eye. I raised an eyebrow. Only then did I realize the original mission, Heal Thomas, had changed to Thomas's Revenge. The system sounded resigned. This mission was centered around the male lead, Thomas. So whether it was a happy ending or revenge, it counts as completion. But normally Thomas would never do this. Even if he wanted revenge, he wouldn't have the power to touch Lily. The system paused. Seeing me close my eyes, pretending to sleep, it hesitated before asking cautiously, "Host, why did you help Thomas take revenge on Lily? Was it really just out of a sense of justice?" I thought about it seriously, then asked back, "No particular reason. I'd have to deal with them sooner or later anyway, might as well do it now. Let me guess. Lily is Silas's biological sister, right?" Hearing this, the system's voice trembled. "Host, how did you know?" It clearly remembered it hadn't let that slip, nor had it mentioned the overarching plot of this angst world. I was already used to the system's shock. The Lily family has 9 daughters and 1 son. According to you, this is a merged world of angst novels. Doesn't that perfectly fit the fake versus true young master trope? Silas is the strongest supporting male character. He definitely needs a matching background. Thinking it over, the Lily family is the only option. The system was silenced by my logic, unable to retort. This host is terrifyingly smart. He's inside the chessboard, yet he sees the entire game. I ignored the system. I had indeed considered this point, but what made me certain was that I had recently ordered an investigation into Silas. Knowing he wasn't the biological son of the Lily family, and connecting it to a scandal from 2 years ago where the Lily family's youngest son was rumored to be adopted, deriving Silas's true identity was child's play. Knowing the truth sparked a little interest in me. Just a little. It had to be like this to be fun. At least the game would last longer. Otherwise, a single phone call to my subordinates to wipe them out would be too boring. It's rare to get a system. I had to add some spice to this mundane life. I wanted to see what attitude Silas would have toward the fallen eldest daughter Olivia. Once the Oliver family went bankrupt and she was drowning in massive debt, Rex looked at me strangely. The boss isn't usually like this. Not tossing Olivia and Silas into the sea to feed the fish on day 1 was already an act of extreme mercy. Now he's leaving them half a way out? Is psychological torture really that fun? I didn't explain much, mainly because the system in my head gave me a few new ideas. As expected, Olivia was about to make her move. Just as I got out of the mountains, my subordinate reported, "Mr. Blake, some major influencers are spreading videos online of what happened yesterday. Should we handle it?" I glanced at Rex, signaling him to take full control. The videos these influencers released showed me breaking the engagement, forcing businesses to bankrupt the Oliver family, and making the 2 old folks kneel and beg in public. But all the videos deliberately cropped my face out. People naturally sympathize with the weak, especially when intentionally misled. The information released completely targeted me, omitting all the terrible things Olivia and her family had done. It painted the Oliver family as pure victims. Netizens were in an uproar in the comments. "The Blake Corp is trash. I thought their benefits were good and wanted to apply. Now, forget it. Anyone can have this garbage company." Exactly. With a boss like that, the company has no future. Definitely a shady business. Poor boss Oliver. He's so old, yet he has to kneel to a junior. In my opinion, this CEO Blake definitely has a mistress and doesn't want to marry his childhood sweetheart, so he's deliberately targeting her family. Occasionally, a few rational voices popped up, but they were quickly drowned out and bullied into silence. Idiots exist every year, but in this angst novel world, there are especially many. Brainless netizens only knew how to blindly pity the weak and join the hate mob. To some people, the truth didn't matter. Life was stressful, and they just wanted a punching bag to vent their anger. Seeing the Blake Corporation scandal explode, Fiona's foul mood instantly improved. That little animal dared treat us like that. This is karma. But Oscar, sitting in his study and seeing everything go so smoothly, didn't feel happy. Instead, he frowned. Why isn't there any pushback? The smoother the plan went, the more uneasy Oscar felt. Damn it, what is that kid plotting? I returned to the mansion. Peter called. "I heard Stella is causing a scene. Do you need me to go testify for you?" I laughed coldly, lazily replying, "Old Pete, is this your first day knowing me? Why would I worry about a nobody like her?" Peter hummed in agreement and hung up. He didn't think Stella could actually affect me either, but since he was the cause of this mess, he felt a bit guilty. Like the saying goes, a dung beetle won't hurt you, but it sure will disgust you. By the time Rex and I arrived, Stella was throwing a massive tantrum like a banshee at the base of the Blake Corp building. She was clearly well prepared. Light makeup, wearing a dress that revealed a few of her abuse scars. I have to say, with her fragile, pitiful face and a few tears, netizens couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Countless cameras surrounded Stella, snapping away. She sobbed and recounted her story. "Recently, I merely went on a business trip with my boss. My boyfriend used that as an excuse to break up with me. Then, CEO Blake found someone from who knows where and beat me half to death in a hotel. The scars on my body are the proof." She displayed her evidence. Because I had arrived right on time that day, she had only been in the hotel room for less than 10 minutes. Relying on that short time frame, she tried to prove she only went to the hotel with Richard, but nothing happened. Because what can you do in a few minutes? Stella cried tragically, collapsing to the ground. Her long black hair covered the venomous glint in her eyes. Staring at the Blake building, she hated me to her very core. She never expected me to be the legendary CEO of the Blake Corporation, the man all of Harbor City looked up to. If she had known Peter was friends with a titan like me, she never would have clung to Richard. I don't know if you rich people like to pretend to be poor to date normal girls like us, but I won't bother Peter anymore. Please stop sending people to threaten my parents. They are old, they can't take it. 1,000 wrongs, 10,000 wrongs, it's all my fault. If you're unhappy, just target me. Under Stella's narrative, she morphed into a poor, fragile little white flower. During their relationship, Peter hid his wealth and tricked her. Stella worked hard to earn money, only to find out Peter was rich. Feeling deceived, she firmly broke up with him. This tragic tale resonated deeply with the netizens watching the live stream. The CEO of Blake Corp is utter trash for doing this. Not only is his character garbage, he dumped his fiancée and ruined a self-reliant girl. Right? I'm in Harbor City right now. I'm gonna go to the Blake building and throw paint at them in a few days. Rex and I leaned against our car. We weren't in a hurry to step in, just watching the monkey show. We were still waiting for 2 more people. We chatted casually. Trying to use the internet to smear me? Oscar is truly despicable. To ruin me, he even bought off Stella. Rex shrugged, flashing his wicked smile. Looks like the old man from the Oliver family wants to use public opinion to attack you, and then use the opportunity to force you to stay tied to their family. After all, once their company goes bankrupt, these brainless netizens will blame it all on you. I didn't say anything, continuing to watch the show. Stella's tears were truly on command. She wept pitifully, making countless male netizens' hearts ache. Just as she was about to add fuel to the fire, the cameras surrounding her suddenly all swiveled toward me. Behind them, the noble, mysterious aura, radiating from my entire being, caused countless people to shift their attention. Seeing me, Stella trembled slightly, but glancing at the cameras, her eyes flashed. She instantly lunged toward my feet, crying weakly, "Mr. Blake, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please give me a chance. Stop targeting me. I won't break up with Peter. My parents are very sick. My brother is uneducated. The whole family relies on me to support them." At an angle the cameras couldn't see, Stella was purposely acting fragile for me. If she was lucky enough to catch my eye, she could become Mrs. Blake. But my reflexes were quick. I didn't give her a chance to get close. "Don't touch me. I'm allergic to dog hair." That one light sentence made Stella grind her teeth in fury. I always kept a low profile and rarely appeared in public. Outside of high society, few knew what the CEO of Blake Corp actually looked like. The moment I appeared, the tone of the livestream shifted instantly. Even though people still thought Stella was a victim, their attitudes softened considerably. Is this the ruthless, wicked CEO Blake people were talking about? Doesn't look like it to me. He's so young. Is this CEO like 20? I agree. This CEO doesn't look like a bad guy at all. There must be a misunderstanding. Maybe someone's jealous and trying to throw dirty water on him. Even if it is this handsome guy's fault, taking a step back, is Stella completely innocent? Skimming the live comments, Stella felt even more aggrieved. Rex, standing behind me, scoffed in disdain. 10 cameras, and not a single one is on me. Typical women, only looking at appearances. Back in the day, he was a heartthrob who drove countless girls crazy, famous throughout the underworld. Sadly, since meeting the boss, everything changed. Seeing me turn the tide, Stella slightly tilted her shoulder, letting her strap slip to reveal the horrific scars. The reporters swarmed me, bombarding me with questions about the Oliver family and Stella. "Mr. Blake, hello. Is what Miss Stella said true? Did you use illegal methods to force Miss Stella out of her company and harass her family? As for you forcing others, making your future in-laws kneel and apologize, how do you explain that?" Before I could even answer, right at that moment, 2 men walking by were watching a video on an iPad. The video was accidentally caught by the cameras. The content of the video was incredibly explicit, uncensored, unpixelated. Words can hardly describe it. Let's just say 2 people were intensely performing a certain horizontal tango from multiple different camera angles. The video proudly displayed the female lead's perfect figure and passionate voice, vivid down to the last detail. When the netizens on the livestream saw the video, the chat exploded. "Oh my god, so spicy. Wait a minute, that woman looks exactly like Stella. I recognize the guy. That's the chairman of the Richard Corporation. He's so old and Stella can still take it? That is disgusting." Stella, who was still kneeling on the ground trying to garner sympathy, heard the audio from the video and quickly stood up. When she saw the content clearly, she froze. The video was her and Richard's duet. It also included the audio of her trash-talking Peter, demanding designer bags, and enthusiastically agreeing to play whatever games her sugar daddy wanted. Everything was exposed. When Stella reached out to snatch the iPad, Rex was faster. He grabbed it and smashed it hard onto the ground in front of everyone. "What kind of video are you guys watching in public? Do you have any decency?" The two men whose iPad got smashed weren't angry. Instead, they apologized profusely. Sorry, we weren't distributing it. We were just watching it privately. Rex scolded them angrily. Distributing this stuff is illegal. Do you know that? The two men bowed, apologized again, and quickly scrambled away. The entire exchange was as smooth as a rehearsed play. I smirked, making no effort to hide my smile. Stella clutched her head, feeling like she had been plunged into an icy cavern. She covered her face tightly, terrified of being filmed. It's over. Everything is over. All the words she had spoken after that video leaked turned into knives stabbing right back at her. Stella shook her head frantically. No, it's not like that. That video is fake. If that video spread, she was dead. She could forget about ever holding her head high in society again. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. Public opinion on the internet instantly reversed. Because the video was high definition, plus the guidance of my hired internet trolls, the netizens felt manipulated. They immediately began cursing Stella relentlessly. What the hell? She got caught cheating with a sugar daddy, and she still claims people forced her. Absolutely shameless. Doing that, and still having the nerve to come here and cry? I can testify. I'm Stella's neighbor. Her dad is an abuser, her mom is a gambler, and her brother is a gold digger. I don't know if her family is broken, but looking at that video, she definitely wanted to get broken by that old guy. I have to say, the cinematography of that video was more professional than actual adult movies. Stella wanted to hit me but didn't dare, so she turned to the reporter who had filmed the iPad. Why did you film that? It's all fake. Delete it. Delete it now. The reporter changed his tune, replying coldly, I'm just responsible for reporting the truth. No one tolerates a cheater. The more he looked at Stella, the more disgusted he felt. If it weren't for the Oliver family's money, he wouldn't have bothered hyping her up. Oscar, who had been monitoring the live stream the whole time, felt his heart tighten, but he quickly calmed down. Stella was just a pawn anyway, so what if she got exposed and her reputation ruined? It had nothing to do with him. But there were still many netizens disgusted by the fact that I forced the Oliver parents to kneel. Even if the Stella thing is fake, Blake treating his future in-laws like that is way out of line, right? If the Oliver heiress really wronged Boss Blake, the Oliver family would have buried the trending topics ages ago. How would they dare let it spread? Actually, this was exactly what Oscar was thinking. No matter what, the affair between Olivia and Silas was an indelible stain on me. If I dared to respond publicly, my reputation would suffer to some extent. Oscar was waiting for me to crack under the pressure. Once this fermented, Blake Corp's stock would definitely take a hit. But facing the reporter's questions, I just lazily strolled into the company. Rex raised a hand to block the chasing reporters. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Boss Blake is busy. Please don't waste his precious time. Stella stared blankly at me. She had nothing left. Everything was gone. Completely losing her mind, she charged toward me. But before she could take more than a few steps, several police officers slapped a pair of silver bracelets on her wrists. Miss Stella, you are suspected of severely defaming another person, causing serious consequences. Please come with us. Looking at the handcuffs, Stella still didn't grasp the situation. What? Defamation? I didn't do anything. You've got the wrong person. The two officers had clearly watched the live stream. The two guys who accidentally leaked the video would at most get a fine for a minor offense. Rex gave Stella a wicked grin. Miss Stella, don't forget to prepare the mental compensation fee for Boss Blake and the reputation damage fee for Blake Corporation. To deal with someone like Stella, beating her to death wasn't as effective as making her live like a beggar. She was vain. There was no better punishment for her than poverty. To kill a person, destroy their mind. Rex had too much free time for these games. Despite Stella's screaming, struggling, and endless justifications, the two officers dragged her away. Law enforcement is for justice, not for pity. The reporters exchanged glances. If they were normal reporters, seeing how difficult I was to deal with, they would have retreated. But this group was different. On the surface, they were sent by the Oliver family. In reality, they were my people. After dealing with Stella, Rex pulled out a stack of photos and handed them to the reporters. There were photos of Olivia holding hands with Silas while shopping, photos of them hugging, and photos of them entering the same hotel room. Rex, with a voice full of emotion, recounted the grievances between me and Olivia. Honestly, it's nothing major, just a normal wealthy family marriage arrangement. Everyone understands, but my young master is kind-hearted and loyal to love. He has absolutely never messed around outside. If the netizens in the live stream don't believe me, you can go check. My young master has never had a single scandal. Rex felt a deep sense of grievance. He was a legendary mercenary king, yet here he was, standing on a live stream telling some sappy romance gossip. His marksmanship was unparalleled in the underworld, but he couldn't beat me. His martial arts were unmatched, having single-handedly annihilated an entire army in the Golden Triangle, but he still couldn't beat me. Rex sighed inwardly but continued explaining. We just didn't expect Miss Olivia to do something like this. It truly crossed the young master's bottom line. As for the Oliver Corp, it's just normal business competition. There's no such thing as deliberately targeting them. And that video of the two Oliver elders kneeling? Yes, it's real. but it was secretly arranged and filmed by Chairman Oscar himself to manipulate the netizens' sympathy and force the young master to help him. Speaking up to this point, Rex's face was filled with sorrow. My young master's life is so bitter. The Oliver Corp clearly evades taxes, owes workers wages, and builds tofu dreg projects that cost countless workers their lives. These things have been hidden for so long. Now that it's blowing up online, even though the young master told me not to speak, I really couldn't swallow this anger. You can find all these things online with a simple search. I've said my piece. Justice lives in the hearts of the people. A passionate speech combined with red, teary eyes. It was incredibly moving and vivid. Standing in my top-floor office looking down at Rex, I smiled bitterly and shook my head. This kid's acting needs improvement. Too exaggerated, but I was quite satisfied. After a long time, the system finally contacted me again. Host! Opening cheat codes in an angst world is one thing, but you're not even trying to act normal. This is the 66th floor. You're not using binoculars, yet you can see exactly what's happening down there? Is that really okay? I was in a good mood, so I didn't block it. Suddenly, the system shrieked in excitement. Host! Host! I detect an angst male lead within a 100-meter radius. The system could only detect male leads within 100 meters. Hearing it ramble, I blocked it again. A male led in an ordinary satisfying face-slapping novel. Blocking the system's connection was completely reasonable. Seeing Rex pull out the stack of photos, Oscar felt the world spin, a violent dizziness washing over him. That brat came prepared. Damn it, I underestimated that little animal again. Not only were there old photos, but there were also recent pictures of Olivia and Silas on the yacht. Does Blake have people on that yacht too? Oscar immediately called his subordinates, telling them to contact the reporters to suppress the story quickly. The reporters were still surrounding Rex, asking about the Oliver Corp scandal, but Oscar knew he had been played. The plan he designed had been completely seen through by me. He slumped into his chair, drained of all strength, muttering, "It's over. It's all over." He hadn't expected me to dare make the cuckolding public. Does this kid not care about his pride as a man? I wasn't blind to that issue. In the context of gender equality, this was definitely a scandal. The woman would face moral condemnation, but the man would also be pointed and laughed at. But when you stand at the absolute pinnacle of power, it ceases to be a stain. It only proves that Olivia was blind. After watching Rex's performance, I got back to work. This time, Oscar had paid those reporters to interview me. The reporters got the money and gained fame. In Harbor City, not everyone had the right to interview me. Usually, they could only reach the department managers of my company. Interviewing the CEO of Blake Corp, a man as elusive as a dragon, was something they wouldn't even dare dream of. The live stream quickly took the internet by storm. Initially, it was just the hype around Stella, since she was great at role-playing a maid, a sexy black cat, the neighbor's wife, and now a high-quality leaked video. It caused massive waves online. Shocking! The CEO of Blake Corp is the ultimate dream of every young girl. I had only shown my face for a few minutes, but thanks to my looks that conquered both men and women, the popularity instantly skyrocketed to the one trending topic. The hashtag about my looks quickly pushed another topic to TST. Shocking, the turbulent life of Blake Corp's CEO. Background: born into the immensely powerful Blake family of Harbor City, a prodigy in his youth, mastered the 4 books and 5 classics at age 3, skipped grades constantly, showed forward-thinking business vision at age 10, never losing a single commercial battle, completed all his education at 12. A few simple lines made the internet explode. In short, he was a badass as a kid, an even bigger badass when he entered the business world, and by the time he grew up, no one in the world could rival him. With so much success, there isn't a single romantic rumor about him online. Beep beep! I declare that from today onwards, Boss Blake is Harbor City's one male god. On the other side, after paying her fine, Stella was released from the police station. But as she walked out, her mind was still in a fog. Over the next 2 days, she was constantly hounded by lawyers. Every penny Peter had ever spent on her was demanded back, every single cent. The $10,000 Oscar had paid her to smear Blake Corp was a drop in the bucket. She couldn't reach Silas, and her parents no longer cared about her. Completely out of options, Stella called a cab to Richard's place. If I can't survive, no one gets to live in peace. Since Richard had divorced his wife and was now tangled in a massive scandal, she was going to cling to him. Even if he sent people to threaten her, she had to squeeze some money out of him. This was her last chance. But when Stella arrived, she was crushed. The new owners of the house were a young couple. She accidentally overheard their conversation. What rotten luck. Thought we bought it at a bargain. Who knew Richard would drop dead the very next day? Stella froze, a million thoughts racing through her head, sending violent shivers down her spine. Richard is actually dead. In her eyes, Richard was an untouchable figure, yet even he ended up like this. She didn't dare imagine what her own fate would be. No, that's not right. Peter must still love me. Otherwise, why would he let me live until today? She stumbled away in a panic. Suddenly, bam! Stella was struck by a car and sent flying. Inside the Oliver Corp building, employees were panicking. In just 2 days, one after another had resigned, making the already crumbling company even worse. Oscar sat in his office chair, touching the large glass window, looking down at the crowd below. Blake, you vicious little animal. I had sold out the Oliver family without hesitation, completely unconcerned about whether my broken engagement with Olivia would affect Blake Corp's stock. In reality, my stock hadn't dropped at all, it had surged by 30%. In contrast, Oliver Corp's stock plummeted into the abyss. Filing for bankruptcy was only a matter of time. It only took 2 days for this giant that once stood atop Harbor City to face imminent collapse. When Oscar stepped outside, he noticed the employees looking at him strangely. He didn't think much of it, assuming they were just panicked about the company's impending doom. The phone on his desk rang incessantly. Olivia was calling frantically. Oscar didn't want to answer. If it weren't for that stupid daughter, would he be in this mess? But eventually he picked up. He didn't say a word. Olivia was silent too. Father and daughter fell into a bizarre standoff. Olivia already knew what happened in Harbor City and understood her father's difficulties. Just as Oscar was about to speak, the door burst open. Fiona, wearing a bright red dress, her face dark as a storm cloud, stormed in without closing the door and started screaming at Oscar. "You old bastard! You dared to keep another woman outside?" Oscar froze. "What nonsense are you spouting?" Fiona marched over and smashed her phone into his face. "If it wasn't leaked online, how long were you going to hide it from me? Were you waiting for me to die so you and that vixen could be together?" Oscar quickly looked at the phone. "Shocking!" Chairman of Oliver Corp maintains 3 mistresses. Current manager at a Blake Corp branch owns a billion-dollar mansion. Mother of an illegitimate son spends tens of millions monthly. Not only that, the trending topic publicly revealed the illegitimate son's identity, address, and past. An uneducated bully at school who acted arrogant because of his money. Oscar was struck as if by lightning, falling limply to his knees in front of Fiona. He thought much further ahead than she did. If the illegitimate son was exposed on the trending list in such detail, it meant I had already prepared to strike him down. Fiona cried and screamed, grabbing his hair and shaking him violently. "No wonder. You always said Olivia would marry Blake and didn't need to learn how to manage the company. It turns out you were clearing the path for that little bastard." On the other end of the line, Olivia heard everything. Her mind went blank, staring blankly out at the snow-white Antarctic landscape from the yacht. The phone slipped from her hand and fell to the floor. When she snapped back to reality, she quickly picked it up. Dad, the news online is fake, right? You didn't do that, right?" If what Fiona said was true, her entire life was a joke. Oscar knelt on the floor, letting Fiona beat him. Even as his face was scratched and bleeding, he didn't resist. His heart was only worried about his only son. Right then his phone buzzed with a text message. "Boss Oliver, didn't expect you to have such grand ambitions. Slipping your illegitimate son into Blake Corp was a bold move. Too bad you failed at the final step." Fiona clung to his leg, hitting and cursing him. The sounds of her parents fighting filled Olivia's ears. She sat frozen on the bed. Silas pushed the door open and hurried in, having eavesdropped on everything. He didn't think much, choosing to play the considerate comforter. "Olivia, don't be sad. No matter what, I'll always be by your side." Caught off guard, Olivia spilled her family's disaster to Silas. "What do I do? The company is collapsing, and my dad has another son on the outside." Silas looked at her, his eyes gentle as water. "Olivia, I'll be with you. If the company is in trouble, let's go back first. As long as we can get Boss Blake to stop being mad at you, the company can definitely be saved." Comforted by him, Olivia forced herself to regain a sliver of rationality. After she left the room, Silas punched the door hard. "Damn it, this stupid girl has no brains." He never expected the Oliver family to last barely 2 days against me. He thought the Oliver Corp was strong enough to rival the Blake family. After all, they were a top-tier family in Harbor City. He thought clinging to Olivia meant a lifetime of luxury. Who knew they'd collapse so fast? Right now, Oliver Corp was a complete mess. As for me, I finished my work and was playing chess with Rex. Rex was having a harder time understanding me by the minute. "Boss, why not just finish off Oscar's illegitimate kid? Leaving him alive is leaving a hidden danger. Cut the weeds, but don't dig up the roots, and the spring breeze will blow them right back to life. Aren't you just asking for trouble later?" But I didn't think so. In fact, I felt the opposite. It's rare for someone to come looking for trouble. Let's play a little longer. No rush. Since Olivia dared to play games right under my nose, I don't mind leaving her with a very deep impression. I had already calculated it. After the Oliver family goes bankrupt, Olivia will have almost no money left, only a single mansion. I wanted to see who that mansion would end up with, the illegitimate son or Olivia. Rex looked at me weirdly. The boss wasn't usually like this. In the past, if he didn't throw Olivia and Silas into the sea to feed the fish on day 1, it was already a massive act of mercy. Now he's leaving half a path open. Is psychological torture really that fun? I didn't explain much, mostly because the system in my head was giving me some ideas. Just as the door was about to close, a figure flashed past the CEO's office door. My clairvoyance eye activated again. Name? Simon. Secretly in love with Diana. Diana married someone else for money. Heartbroken, Simon married his college junior, had a daughter, and lived a happy life. But upon hearing Diana divorced and was struggling, Simon repeatedly abandoned his wife and child to take care of Diana. One day, his daughter suffered a heart attack on the highway. but Simon abandoned his family just to take care of Diana's scraped finger. Special info. Diana was bribed by the Lilly family to trick Simon into stealing Blake Corp's classified documents. But 2 days later the Lilly family's company was crushed into bankruptcy by Blake Corp. Ending. Daughter dies, wife Laura divorces him. Simon lives a lonely life until old age. Mission 1. Help Simon win back Laura's heart. Mission 2. Help Simon and Diana get together. Violet waved her pale hand in front of my face. Young master, what's wrong? See something? I shook my head, pushing the thought away. Seeing I didn't speak, Violet slowly opened a lunchbox. Exquisite dishes were laid out on the table. I pinched Violet's cheek, my voice calm but expression dead serious. You worked hard. I'll cook noodles for you tonight. Violet peeked at me, her fingers clenching slightly, her face flushing. For a moment, she didn't know how to respond. To eat or not to eat. Just then the door was pushed open. Simon came in to deliver documents. He should have put them down and left, but he held back, then held back some more, until finally he spoke up. Mr. Blake, you just broke up with Miss Olivia. Aren't you sad? I shot him a cold glance. Why should I be sad? Rex stood at the door waiting for my order. I tapped my finger on the desk, the coldness in my eyes intensifying. If he wants to die, I'll send him off. We mutually agreed. What's there to be sad about? I hate it most when people barge into my office. However, regarding Simon's behavior, I wasn't too angry. As expected of an angst novel male-led, his brain was full of nothing but love. For love, he'd even throw away his job. In my free time, watching an idiot was also a form of entertainment. Simon frowned, unable to find a reason to retort, but he was still dissatisfied. You just broke up with your fiancée, such a huge thing happened, and you're already cozying up to another woman? Are you being unfaithful to love? In his eyes, Olivia and I were childhood sweethearts. Even if Olivia made a mistake, I should give her a chance to fix it. Besides, the engagement hadn't been officially cancelled. I put down my chopsticks and gave him a thumbs up. Great, get out. From now on, you don't need to come to work at Blake Corp anymore. Being cuckolded and still wanting to forgive? What a true testament to love. This guy definitely had a childhood sweetheart fetish, wearing a glowing green cuckold hat and still claiming it's true love. As soon as the words left my mouth, Rex grabbed Simon by the collar and dragged him out. The system, seeing a male lead get fired, couldn't help but say, "Host, the upgraded clairvoyance eye is pretty good, right?" It even detected that Simon would betray you in the future, helping you fire him early. It wanted me to see the benefits of the system so I'd work harder on missions. Originally, it thought there were too many protagonists in this world, and it would take me at least a few years to finish the missions. But looking at the current situation, if I wanted to, 1 month was enough to sweep all the protagonists clean. The life or death of the other male leads completely depended on my mood. Simon had been kicked out of the company by Rex. He didn't understand. Just because he valued childhood sweetheart affection and said a few words defending Olivia, he got fired? I thought Boss Blake was a dragon among men. Turns out he's just petty and narrow-minded. Rex didn't care. This world had too many weirdos. He'd seen far crazier things. Rex was going to drive me home, but I signaled him to head to the Sea Sky Cemetery first. No rush. Let's watch a great play first. I'm a kind-hearted person. Since Simon loved wearing green hats, I was naturally going to fulfill his wish. Arriving at the west side of the cemetery, a lone figure stood there. A petite, fragile woman. Her features were delicate but pale as snow, exuding an exhausted beauty. Daughter, Mommy is sorry. If there is a next life, will you still be my daughter? She cried for so long that she suddenly lost all her strength and collapsed to the ground, but her hands still tightly gripped the urn. Rex lit a cigarette, looking out the window. Boss, what are we doing here? I sat in the back, eyes half closed, lazy as usual. Nothing, just watching a good show. Simon dared to say that cheating on a childhood sweetheart was forgivable. I didn't mind giving him a little surprise. At first, Rex didn't see anything special, until Simon brought a woman and a little girl over. The woman next to Simon sniffled softly. Sister, no matter how angry you are, you can't joke with a child's life. How could you lie and say your daughter is dead just because Simon is spending time with me? Simon's face was black with rage. He had been fired from Blake Corp, and his wife, Laura, was claiming their daughter was dead. He ground his teeth in frustration. Laura, will you drop it? I told you, Diana and I are just childhood friends. It's not as dirty as you think. He truly didn't understand. Diana was a friend he grew up with. If they were going to do something, would it have been Laura's turn to marry him? Now that Diana was divorced and struggling, what was wrong with helping her out a bit? Laura clutched the urn tightly, staring at Simon with deep resentment, but her voice was unnervingly calm. Just because Diana's daughter scraped her finger, you abandoned our daughter on the highway to go buy her a Band-Aid. That place is impossible to get a cab. By the time the doctor arrived, our daughter had been dead for a long time. Simon frowned, a flicker of guilt in his eyes, but he still didn't think he was in the wrong. Oh, right, it was a small mistake. Besides, how could she have a heart condition? Stop using her life as a joke. Diana added fuel to the fire, huge tears rolling down her cheeks. Sister, that urn is full of milk powder, right? Just to trick Simon into coming to see you? Why would you do such a thing? Rex and I stood in the shadow of a tree in the distance, watching the four of them. Suddenly Simon kicked the urn out of Laura's hands. Still angry, he stomped on it a few more times. Laura's face went deathly pale. She scrambled to the ground in a panic, using her bare hands to shield the pile of ashes, tears streaming down like a waterfall. The system couldn't help but feel sad. So tragic. Betrayed by her husband, and her daughter is gone forever. I felt absolutely no sympathy, only a sigh. What a pity. But didn't she bring this upon herself? From beginning to end, Laura only knew how to cry without saying a word. Even though her heart was dead to Simon, this concerned her daughter's ashes. Couldn't she even open her mouth to scream? Are the protagonists in angst novels really this stupid? Comparatively, Thomas actually had half a brain. At least he knew to seek revenge after being hurt. But this woman was just a total idiot, couldn't even open her mouth. Hearing my tone, the system didn't dare ask if I was going to help. I replied, helping an idiot is boring, but looking at Simon pisses me off. I have my own plans. Right then, Simon's phone received a video. He was already annoyed that his wife was being unreasonable. He was about to turn it off, but seeing it was sent from Blake Corp, he forced himself to open it. When he saw the contents, Simon shook uncontrollably. There were two parts to the video. The first was Laura holding their daughter's body, sending her into the crematorium. The second was security camera footage, showing a conversation between Diana and her daughter. Mommy, my finger isn't scraped. Why did we call Uncle here? Shush. Soon he's going to be your real daddy. When Simon's daughter was having a heart attack, Diana was on a video call with him. He clearly saw that his daughter was having a real heart attack. That was exactly why Diana called him over. As long as Simon's daughter died, he and Laura would definitely divorce. Then she could marry him. Looking at the video, Simon felt like he'd been struck by lightning. He looked at the ashes on the ground, a terrifying realization blooming in his mind. The phone slipped from his hand, hitting the dirt, but continued playing the rest of the video. Wifey, you really are the smart one, faking a divorce with me to seduce that idiot Simon. He's an assistant at Blake Corp now. He definitely has some assets. When you marry him, slowly transfer all his property to my name. Once we've squeezed him dry, we kick him to the curb. Diana's smug laughter echoed from the phone. Hubby, everything of mine is yours. I don't even like that idiot Simon. Uncle Simon is so stupid. He abandoned his own daughter multiple times, just so I'd let my kid call him dad. What a moron. Once that brat dies, mommy gets uncle's money, and you won't have to live with him anymore. Simon couldn't believe it. He looked at Diana and her daughter. He never expected this obedient, cute little girl to say such venomous things. In reality, Diana had never divorced her ex-husband. It was a fake divorce. Back in the day, she dumped Simon for a school thug. Later, knowing Simon had struck it rich working at Blake Corp, she faked a divorce to scam him out of his money. In Diana's eyes, Simon was just a dog that came when called. Just a few tears, and that idiot would lose his mind and help her. Diana and her daughter's faces turned chalk white with panic. No, it's not like that. It's all fake. Don't believe them. But the evidence was crystal clear. How could Simon not believe it? He was so angry he practically coughed up blood. He gritted his teeth, glaring at the mother and daughter. I gave you my true heart and you wanted to kill my daughter. I was blind. Get out. Get out of my sight. Diana looked at Simon reluctantly, but her gaze drifted toward me standing under the tree. She knew who I was. If she could cling to me, she'd never have to worry about food or clothes again. Moreover, my looks were far beyond what the video captured, unimaginably handsome. If she could be with a man like me, she wouldn't mind turning the fake divorce into a real one and kicking her husband to the curb. Rex had seen plenty of women like this. The moment they saw his boss, they couldn't walk. Everyone wanted to climb the social ladder and latch onto a dragon. Didn't they look in the mirror to see if they were worthy? Playing the innocent, pitiful card, Diana pulled her daughter along. Mr. Blake, I'm so sorry our affairs took up your time. This place is desolate. It's hard for a mother and daughter to get down the mountain. I wonder if you could give us a ride. She was confident in her looks. Her figure didn't look like someone who had given birth, and she had a cute daughter. Don't rich people love other men's wives? As long as she got into my car, she'd naturally find a way to make something happen. Even if I just wanted to play around, she didn't mind. She was confident she could make me publicly acknowledge her. She spoke while stumbling forward, intentionally falling toward my chest. But before she could even touch me, Rex stepped sideways, grabbed her shoulder and shoved her hard backward. Diana stumbled and crashed to the ground. Her daughter was pulled down with her, tumbling and crying out in pain. Seeing Diana's actions, Simon's mental defenses shattered. He looked at his daughter's ashes, then at Diana and her kid. His face turned from red to purple. Gritting his teeth, he glared at me. Mr. Blake, showing me these videos, what exactly is your intention? I gave him a cryptic answer. You protagonists really have terrible taste. Trash like you being called a main character? You don't even deserve to be called a man. The system answered weakly in my head. The angst world is just like this. Simon has to wait until his daughter is dead to realize the person he truly loves is Laura. I'm a new system. I haven't guided a host before, haven't gotten many rewards, and don't have many emotions. I don't really understand human logic. Simon didn't catch my drift, but he could tell I was insulting him. Knowing his daughter was killed and Diana had played him, he was on the verge of a breakdown. Now finding a target to vent his anger, Simon clenched his fists and charged at me. Don't think just because you're the CEO of Blake Corp, you can block out the sky with one hand. I will never bow to power. I laughed coldly and stepped forward. Before Simon could even throw a punch, a sharp pain shot through his stomach. Then, several kicks landed on his chest and face. He flew backwards like a broken sack. I unleashed 3 consecutive kicks and showed no sign of stopping. I walked over, grabbed him by the hair, and hauled him off the ground. My eyes were full of contempt as I patted his cheek. I can't block out the sky with one hand? What, you think you can? What exactly can you do? You can't beat me in a fight. How can you compare to me? Looks, background, power. You're not just a loser, you're a completely useless piece of trash. I held his arm with one hand and slapped him dozens of times in the blink of an eye, turning his cheeks beet red. It wasn't that Simon didn't want to fight back, but right now, let alone counterattacking, even twitching was a luxury. He coughed violently, spitting out 7 or 8 teeth, his speech slurred. You dare hit me? Just wait. I'll call the cops. I'll make the cops lock you up. I raised my foot and kicked him in the chest. Simon's body skidded across the dirt, sliding over 10 meters before slamming into a tree trunk. He groaned in agony. I turned to Laura and waved. Want to avenge your daughter? Don't worry, even if you kill him, I'll cover for you. Laura was gathering the scattered ashes back into the urn, kneeling on the ground, wiping her tears. She looked at the badly beaten Simon. In the past, she would have thrown herself over him to protect him. I sighed, slowly breaking it down for her. Your daughter was killed. Did you do it? Why are you the one here trying to atone? You shouldn't kill him? Or are you planning to pay for your daughter's life with your own? If your daughter knew you were atoning like this, she'd probably resurrect just out of pure rage. I understand the grief of a mother losing a child, but Diana came right to your door playing the innocent white lotus, kicking over your daughter's ashes, not even letting her rest in peace after death. In this situation, shouldn't you grab a knife, stab Diana and her brat to death first, and then stab Simon? Hearing my words, Laura's entire body jolted. Her eyes darted wildly between Simon and Diana, before she lunged at Diana like a wild beast. A woman isn't scary, but a mother who just lost her child, she's as terrifying as any man. Diana was brutally torn apart by the frenzied Laura, completely powerless to fight back. She was pinned to the ground, beaten relentlessly. The front of her shirt was ripped to shreds. Panicking, she tried to cover her chest to block Laura's strikes. Laura bit into her neck, her right hand clawing at Diana's eyes, completely losing her mind. She only wanted to kill Diana to avenge her daughter. Diana's daughter tried to rush up and help her mom, but Laura didn't even look. She grabbed the girl's hair and delivered a brutal kick to her face. The girl was kicked so hard she spat blood from her mouth and nose, curling up into a ball. Rex and I watched in silence. Rex, take Diana and her ex-husband to the mansion. They won't be needing to go outside ever again. Rex acknowledged the order, casually kicking Simon, who was trying to crawl up back into the dirt. Looking at Simon's pathetic, cowardly state, I couldn't even be bothered to hit him myself anymore. Knowing clearly that his daughter was murdered, all he did was slap Diana once. I thought he at least had a backbone, but all he did was tell the mother and daughter to get lost. I'm leaving, I said. Rex used a precise knife hand strike, chopping the back of Simon's neck and knocking him out cold. Having dealt with the 4 of them, Rex called for a crew to take them away. As for Diana's ex-husband, I planned to handle him personally to avoid leaving any loose ends. After all, when doing business in this country, it's better to be careful. While waiting, Rex lit a cigarette, looking up at the dim, starry sky. Boss, what exactly are you planning? Why leave them alive? I really can't figure it out. Keeping trash like this is useless. Wouldn't it be better to just kill them, or is it really just to torture them? What I valued most about Rex was that he never asked too many questions, but what I was planning to do was far from as simple as he thought.